Good evening and good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to week 4 of the Aegis Marauders League. I am Septi, joined alongside this lovely little critter here to my left here. Hello.
Malurgle.
Happy Halloween, Moose. You're a little early, but
Hello, everyone. My name is Murloc Moose. Today, I am so happy to be here. Happy Halloween week, everybody. And also, if you're in Vegas in 2 days, happy Nevada Day. Yeah.
2 days is Halloween. You guys celebrate on the same day?
We sure do.
What?
Sure
All right.
do.
You learn something new every day. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, and that was the cool thing. You get Halloween off every week or every month. So
are you sure it's not just like you're trying to make Halloween a state holiday? Are you sure it's the two don't cross like that?
Listen. I just cast video games. I don't know why it was October 31st, but I'm going to assume because it is the day that Vegas was brought into the union.
But speaking of, and before we get into it, it seems like a great transition just before we start, because speaking of national events happening, Moose, I feel like you're going to give an announcement at some point, and I feel like it's a good spot to give it now, given the air.
Sure. I mean, which announcement are you talking about? Talking about the election next week?
Yeah, of course. Just because it seems as though we are on a holiday / states oriented thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I've been talking about it ever since the start of this season. Want to again, mention that this year is an election year. Registration, I believe, is closed for most states unless they allow for same day registration. However, if you guys are registered to vote, please do not hesitate to get your vote in early or make an appointment, make a plan to get yourself to a ballot station. I personally work for Lyft. They are offering $10 off any ride to a ballot box. So there is no excuse to go in, make your voice heard for this 2024 election. If you have any questions on how to vote or any of that, please don't hesitate to give me a DM in Discord. I am more than happy to help you, get you informed, and get you where you need to go. And with that, Septi, let's talk about week 4. Let's talk about this matchup coming up.
Yeah, no, it's the season is coming. The regular season, rather, is coming to an end very quickly. This is the penultimate match, I believe, of our teams in group stage. Today we have Novasphere Gaming Alpha versus Akuma Distortion. We have the first and second teams respectively in the Ionian division. Akuma Distortion yet to drop a game, but we're going to go quickly through Novasphere Gaming Alpha's roster here. We got Hacksource in the top lane, Capalot in the jungle, X-Mentos in the mid lane, Youngling and Oreo Murderer on the bot lane there, and we got a couple subs there too if you guys want to take a read. But yeah, no, this team has been doing pretty well in the Ionian division, as I said, sitting second with a 2-0 match record. Did have their cross group last week, so are waiting to catch up. I believe this is their last in group match, if I'm not mistaken. So they are going to be going up against Akuma Distortion, who have not dropped a game yet in the group. Taking a look at their roster here, it's going to be Slappy Joe in the top lane, Cyan Kip in jungle, Iris Bounty Hunter, Zeha, and On Your Chest in the bot lane. This is a team that has been going pretty crazy so far in their division, have played every single opponent but Novasphere Gaming and have not dropped a game. They are currently 3-0 on match record, 6-0 on game record. A pretty scary team to look out for here for Novasphere.
Yeah, and the implications of this matchup, cannot be ignored. The winner of this series gets the best position for Ionia, and that is going to then lead into the playoffs coming up. So a win here for either one of these teams, especially for Akuma, would solidify that, especially since they do go into their cross-group stage match next week. But as we get into this draft, once again, it is that fearless draft. We've been seeing a lot of teams and a lot of players really be targeted with usage of it. And that is going to be the case here for this one as well, Septi, with Gwen and Xin Zhao getting taken away first off.
Yeah, Novasphere on the blue, Akuma on the right. And Akuma taking a pot shot at Camelot with that first Xin Zhao pick, a champion that has been fairly high priority for the Novasphere jungler. But on the other side, Novasphere going to take away, as you said, the Gwen and now the Galio, two champions that signal a pretty scrappy playstyle that Akuma Distortion might be playing this week, or at least what Novasphere is preparing for. Moving into third bans, though, I'm wondering if we're going to get maybe an Ashe ban, as that champion has been a premier pick on the patch. We are on 1421, and let me do a quick check. I believe, yes, this is a new patch as of last week. So a couple of changes just to go through the, actually not a couple of changes, quite a few changes coming through, I believe. Yeah, big changes overall. So I do not have time to go through them, as I checked the sheet, and it's very large. But in that time of me waffling, we have had two bans: Belveth taken away by Novasphere and Corki banned by Akuma.
Yeah, and so I am curious to see, I think most importantly, the most important matchup is going to be that jungle matchup. You've got Capalot, second highest rated player in the AML right now, based off of their performance so far in the Ionia division. Played the Maokai, played the Viego, played the Xin Zhao, some of those options still available. And then Cyan Kip, fifth highest rated player in the AML in that jungle spot. So I'm curious to see what that matchup is going to be like. But like you were alluding to, Ashe is a premier champion right now in League of Legends. It gets picked up B1 for Novasphere Gaming Alpha. That is going to go immediately to Zaya, who is a long-standing member of the AML. And Akuma now going to, I'm sorry, Novasphere is going to pick that up for Younglin. And Zaya's going to respond with the Jhin. Graves in the jungle, a lot of AD.
Yeah, that is a whole lot of AD, but two champions that are not too worried about the changes from the patch. Ashe did not get changed. The only premier AD that we got changed that we might not have seen is the Kaisa, but she into Ashe is not as good of a pick. Sorry, I'm hearing an alarm in the background. Anyway, moving on to the second phase of bans. As you were saying, Novasphere gonna go for a very, very teamfight oriented composition with Orianna and Wukong as the pickups here. I really like this into Jhin Graves because they are champions that do not handle disruption well. Graves does have a dash. Jhin is very immobile, so should the Wukong and the Orianna get on top of them, it will spell disaster for the immobile AD carry, and now mid laner as well. As the Syndra is locked in. And just give me 1 second, I'm gonna go check on that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, and we can kind of talk about this. We can come back when you get back. Definitely get those alarms. Very important there for sure. The Syndra coming in, and I'm sure you'll talk about that, and Septa will talk about that when we come back. You know, Syndra has the opportunity to disrupt that ball delivery system if you're able to get an impactful scatter the weak. And Novasphere has highlighted the power of their team fight phase with 3 major ultimates still available. With that Orianna coming out, I don't expect that we're going to be seeing something like a Yasuo come into play. Maybe they want to put that into the top lane, but I'm doubting that that is going to be the case. But Akuma Distortion is going to take away that Renekton, and I like this choice personally because if you're able to get a Renekton online, a team fight just becomes so much harder for Akuma to handle, because we've seen it already in this season of AML. Renekton getting so far ahead can 1v9 a game. And also for Novasphere Gaming, Hacksource is the only player out of the 5 that does not have a rating in the top 10 stats of any stat, if I do recall correctly. And so Akuma Distortion is going to be pinching that pull. Septio was talking about it. Hacksource maybe the target here, maybe some exploitation, not the highest ranked player in the AML. So they're going to take away the Camille Renekton, those side lane juggernauts that could be a problem for this teamfight composition if Novasphere is able to get it.
Yeah, champions like Ornn, Trin, and Valdemir Jeebus. I promise I haven't watched any Harry Potter, but I just combined Volley and Vlad. But I was gonna say they are champions that really like to disrupt the flow of the opposing team's push. Ornn is obviously very good at collapsing and pressing R from a long way, but Trinimir and Valdemir are massive lane winners. They are champions that can draw your attention from across the map. They require a 2v1, but with an Olaf picked up by Akuma, I really like this answer because it preempts champions like Tryndamere, like Volibear, who would want to win on the side, as Olaf himself is that sort of side lane defining champion that will have to now match up into the Ornn, who is a good matchup into the Olaf. It's not going to win the lane, it's not going to lose super hard, but the Ornn will outvalue the Olaf later on, but it is very good into Orianna and Ashe respectively.
And now I'm curious to see what these final picks are going to be. It's going to be support v support. Akuma is going to get that R5, though they are lacking in some of that frontline beefiness. I wouldn't actually be surprised if we do get something maybe backline here, because I don't think Akuma really wants to go into that 5v5 team fight, especially with the draft that Novasphere has. Maybe they go for something that's trying to be a little bit more oppressive in lane, or maybe something that can do more cross map. I don't know. I don't know if a tank is maybe the need. Maybe a bard.
I feel like a bard is sort of the angle here, because you cannot pick. I feel like you can't pick a melee into what is being shown on the enemy bot lane, Ashe and Karma, and it's gonna be Nautilus. So I'm, it's sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because as you were saying, they need an engage, they need a snap, way to get onto the opponents. But in a lane like this, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for this Nautilus to have to play against a Karma and an Ashe. I thought that they might go for something like a Blitzcrank, just because the engage is so fast. But you would rather be going forward with a Jhin on your team, with a Syndra on your team. And so, I mean, it will provide a good body, the Nautilus. It just won't have a very fun time in lane whatsoever. And a lot of the times when you're against a lane like Karma, when you're a Karma Ashe, and you want to pick a support, you generally want that support to go roam, because especially if it's a melee one, they're just gonna be useless in lane. But you can't really do that when Jhin is your AD carry. He's immobile, he doesn't wave clear well, and so he will at some point become susceptible to the dives of Karma and Ashe, and this Wukong especially, should enough of a chunk come down. But I think, again, the Nautilus is sort of, as I said before, damned if you do, damned if you don't. You got to make the decision, and they decided to play more aggressively, and I think that's fine.
Definitely, and I'm okay with it because of all the reasons that you were talking about. My critique of it would be maybe it's a little bit of that safe option, like you were alluding to, where you want to have something of a front line, but I'm not expecting Nautilus to be the tankiest person on the Rift. I mean, that's going to go to the Ornn for sure. Yeah. So you're going to get out tanked there. And so my concern then is this Nautilus pick for fails just going to be an R-bot trying to maybe disrupt that shockwave, maybe disrupt that cyclone, and that's about it? Or are we going to be seeing that value in the early game so Zeha can get ahead? Maybe they try to go for a roam up to first or second Void Grub camp, maybe a roam up to the mid lane. I'd like to see that activity in the early game from On Your Chest, from fails, to ensure that they get the most value out of that pick. But with that being said, Septi, let's go ahead and get into the Dragon Draft. I correctly chose the Mountain Drake in Game 3 of Week 3. That was a fun series for sure, which means that the only dragon that has not been seen in the AML yet is that Cloud Soul. And so with that information, Septi, you're first.
I feel like you're teeing me up here. I can already see you hovering the square on the sheet that we used to track this.
Yeah.
I gotta go with the underdog. Give me the Cloud.
Give you the Cloud? Okay, thank God.
I say underdog. I mean, give me the statistical advantage, because it's bound to show up at some point, right?
Fair enough.
What is it? Sunk cost? Sorry.
Sunk cost fallacy for sure.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Sure.
Right.
I'm gonna take the Hextech and the Chemtech Soul.
All right. Give me the. Let's go with OGs. Give me Mountain and give me Infernal. You already guessed. You already knew I was gonna say it, so why you put it down. Give me the teams that I like to watch in Old Proving Grounds.
For
Ocean
sure.
was always whatever.
I like Ocean, so I guess it does work out. Septi, any final thoughts on these drafts before we take it to a break?
Yeah, I think that Akuma have to be, on point here. They are definitely not the better formed composition. I think they have a lot more work to do, so they got to get down and grind. And as far as Novasphere goes, I think you stick to the status quo. You play it to support your bot lane, and you should be good to go. But yeah, Moose, as you said, we are going to hop into this game. But before we do, we are going to have a quick word from our sponsors. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Quick shout out to ProComps, our sponsor and a game changer app for the League community. This isn't just like the other tools. It's your personal draft coach, perfect for both teams and solo players. In fact, you can pair it with any other app you use. ProComp stands out with features like custom champion pools, personalized tier lists, and live draft advice. Think of it as having a virtual coach and a strategy toolkit all in one. They offer real-time champion ban recommendations. They already have over 200,000 downloads and thousands of daily users just like you. ProComps is user-friendly and totally free. It is a no-brainer to at least give it a go. Download ProComps now, and you'll experience a whole new level of drafting power in your league games. Go to procomps.gg, download it from Overwolf, or click the panel below on our stream.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Aegis Marauders League. We are just 2 weeks away, this week and next week, from completing the regular season. The bottom teams of each division are going to get eliminated, but these 2 teams don't have to worry about that. Instead, they are trying to get that top spot in their divisions, give themselves the best chance to go for a long playoff run. Novasphere Gaming Alpha versus Akuma Distortion. I think it's going to be a very mechanically fun but chaotic match.
Yeah, I mean, there already seems to be some early shenanigans here. Fails is trying to suss out where the wards might be placed from Capelot, but nothing doing. As people are just gonna go back to their lanes, and no lane swapping like we're seeing at Worlds, and honestly, thank God. But yeah, there could have been a lane swap. You could have seen like Jin Nautilus go topside and gone into the Ornn or some crazy shenanigans. If obviously Akuma had practiced that, but that is not the case. Instead, Seha and Fails will suffer the wrath of Younglin and Oreo Murderer, because this lane, from experience, I can tell you, is not fun to play against. Yeah, not pushing them back quite yet, but both junglers are going to start on that top side of the map. Capelot going to start with their wolves and try and sneak their way around that ward. Not quite sure if they're able to do so, but Sion Kip as well going to start on the same side, with a little bit slower, as Graves does not have the fastest of first clears. But we were saying a little bit off stream that we imagine that there will be quite a lot of invading onto the top side from Cyan Kip, as per the Olaf into Ornn battle. Just because, yeah, this Ornn will not really have much of any say as to what happens with the minions in their lane. As we see Cyan Kip go for it now, but also knows the Capelot is clearing their camp, so should know exactly what's going on. As we get a bit of a scrap here between Cyan Kip and Capelot. 1 HP on the Wukong. Not going to finish it.
Yeah, unable to get it, but they are going to be staying. They're going to try to get that back off. Cyan Kip does have the extra charges in, and Slappy Joe is trying to push that wave forward. Unable to get it in time, but they are going to go for the engage against Snorlax.
Oh, it's not.
First blood is going to go towards Akuma. It's going to go towards Cyan Kip. It's going to allow them to really start to amp up quickly.
I have to say, that was going to be an absolute disaster for what had happened there, because if Capelot's able to base there and Cyan Kip doesn't get anything for it. Also, I think the Graves off screen, because I don't know for you, but my screen did not show the start of that fight, and instead showed the Ornn and the Olaf duking it out. But I believe Cyan Kip, oh no, never mind, just took minions from the wave. I got really confused because I saw 12 CS level 3. Never mind. Sorry, I'm confusing myself, but yeah, no, it's really disastrous that Snorlax died on that top side there, or hack source, I guess. But Cyan Kip now gonna get spotted by Capelot, who does not have any extra AD, just the dagger.
And no flash available for Campalot, but Campalot wants it. Oreo comes in, and Cyan Kip will fall. The money goes to the support, unfortunately, but the bigger return on that investment is the opportunity for Novasphere to get some of those camps off on the top side of the rift. Fails and Zeha required to defend those camps and make sure the Capelot can't get those.
Yeah, at level 3, it's a little bit hard to stay for that. While you do have the support of your mid laner and support, it's you do not have enough HP to really make that happen. But I was gonna say, it's greedy from Cyan Kip, but not punished. Does in the end get to spend their gold, has that serrated Dirk now. And I think this is something that is really interesting to see, that Capelot went for the dagger, because this is sort of what we've seen from the item changes so far. Dagger getting dropped from 300 to 250 means that despite dying so early on into the game, Capelot was actually able to buy a meaningful item towards their first component. And if I'm not mistaken, Capelot probably has magic footwear, so probably could not have even bought boots if they had wanted to. Yeah, it has boots, so they had died with 300 gold, couldn't have even bought anything, so it would not have been fun. But yeah, we're gonna see a lot of this from Slappy Joe. It's gonna be pushing waves, crashing waves, and stepping in to find the pathing of Capelot, who is already down a camp. And Cyan Kip is going to be moving towards the second respawns on their top side just in time for the first set of grubs to spawn. And on that top side, where Snorlax, or sorry, Haxor, is very low on mana on this Ornn, is not really going to be able to push against Slappy Joe. And so first grubs might be a little bit of a tough ask.
So let's bring the topic towards the stat pages of all of these players. Now that we are in week 4, we can kind of look and see who has been performing well in their divisions, and Novasphere has been dominant. You've got Capelot, second highest rated player in the AML right now. Mentos, mid laner, that Orianna, second highest KDA, and followed by Oreo, who is third. And then Younglin has the 6th highest KDA of all players in the AML. So that mid-top support, or that mid-bottom support duo, really playing a lot together. What does that tell you about the team?
I mean, it tells me that this Wukong is going to try and play for this dragon here. It's well aware of the happenings on their top side and will take the advantage that is given to them, as we both see the mid laners of either side dip into their respective halves of the river. Iris Bounty Hunter will try and push this wave out and get a base, as the grubs are taken by Sionkip to start. But on the other side, a very nice trade for the side of Novasphere Gaming Alpha to grab this first Hextech Dragon and set a good precedent for the rest of the game, because that is a very good and early first dragon. If they're able to stack well and use the power of this bot lane, looking at a potential 21-minute soul if they play it very well. And keep in mind, they are the stronger of the team fighting compositions early on. Nothing is going to beat the wombo combo of an Ornult with a Cyclone with a Shockwave if it's played well. There is a little asterisk there. If it is played well, if it is, you know, layered correctly, there is nothing that Akuma can do to really counter it. But we'll have to see as it comes down to execution later on. 500 goldies so far for this red side here. Purely in, I believe, that kill gold and a bit of CS leads around the mid and jungle. Because even though this bot lane has been very tough, I have to give credit to Zeha. Is still keeping the farm a little bit close for what we'd expect from a lane like this.
And Zeha is a tyrant. He is very strong. One of the, I don't know, maybe not the longest standing player in the AML, but has played multiple seasons of this league and other leagues within this level of player. Knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about, and I think is very confident going into this series. You know, he asked Ivar last week, he said, hey, can we have this stream or this match streamed? And I'm not disappointed so far. We're 8 minutes in. It's only 1-1. Everyone playing very cautiously. And so now we bring our attention back up to the top side. First item complete, or first item component for Snorlax is going to be that Grievous Wounds. And I mean, I think that that's a great call, and that's going to really put Akuma Distortion a little bit on their toes once those team fights come into play.
Yeah, especially if they're also able to pick up a pair of shiny plated steel caps to go alongside. But yeah, I think you know, Zeha calling for this match, I think you said it very, very well. This is going to be an exciting series, because you can already tell in these first 9 minutes that every single play that has happened, every single interaction has come with a purpose, has been very thought out and planned. Even Sionkip invading there on that first clear, you know, knew what Caplot was doing, knew the path that the Wukong was going to take, knew as well that their top laner was pushing in and could help in the invade if it went bad. I mean, that was very well intentioned. That was very thought out. And Caplot gets spotted here.
And this is an engage that Akuma wanted. Lots of damage on the youngling, who goes down. Cyclone is going to hit on Caplot. Iris is going to have to flash away as Mentos comes through. Going to be able to take out Fails to make it a 1-for-1 support for DPS. But here comes Snorlax, being able to get the knockup on the Bounty Hunter, who will go down. Zeha will fall. And the early pings from Novasphere knew that this was happening, and they responded in kind. It's a 2-for-1 play.
Yeah, as we were saying, well-intentioned, thought out. They had the TP from Hacksource on this Ornn, and despite the good engage, Zeha had a bit of a whiff there with their ulti, only landing, I believe, 1 or 2 at most of their 4 ulti shots. The 4th one going completely wide as it was aimed at, I believe it was Oreo Murderer on the side. But Sionkip now going to try and find this Ashe, who does have flash, is not going to, is going to use it and fall down, actually. That is incredibly unfortunate, but really fortunate for the side of Akuma there to be able to pick up such a pivotal kill at the moment that the grubs are spawning.
And that is something that, I mean, now that I've been you know, a Masters level commentator for a while, and I think that it's something that a lot of these players tend to struggle with, is you have a big team fight, whether you die or not, you go back onto the Rift, and maybe there's a struggle of trying to reset, or maybe not recognizing where players can be or how quickly players can respawn on the map. That death giving Akuma Distortion all 6 Void Grubs. Gonna be huge for Slappy Joe in the side lane. Gonna be huge for Cyan Kip when they decide to push lanes forward. And if they're able to get that Rift Herald, there is a threat that they could potentially go for an inner turret or more.
Well, yeah, I mean, with no TP now, Hacksource is going to be forced to stay on this top side. So Slappy Joe, with the Stride Breaker potentially finished on this base here, yes, we'll have it 11 minutes into this game, is going to really start raining hell onto this Ornn. No TP versus 6 Grubs is going to be a rough time, because while this Olaf does have the Stride Breaker, well, they will have the Tiamat passive splashing damage around. When you hit the tower, there is no splash, and so Slappy Joe should just be able to wave clear with the axes and then start wailing on the towers with, you know, no real fear from the Olaf, or from the Ornn, sorry. As you have Caplot here, gets spotted by the arrow.
Fails, now gonna be at half HP, gonna have to use that depth charge, landed on the 4 members. Very nice depth charge from Fails, going to stop that potential all in from Novasphere, as they are unable to get the dragon. But Cyan Kip did, or the dragon at the time, they tried to go for that blue buff. Cyan Kip did use their smite. They are going to back, and Novasphere is going to be able to pick up their second dragon of the game. We'll see if I get that hat trick here, Septi.
Yeah, you might get the hat trick. The odds are in my favor, and it's going to be a cloud. Let's go. Anyway, that aside, look at this tower here.
Strikes again.
Exactly, just like doubling down on going for the tower, not having the teleport available. And this is a bit of a greedy play from Novasphere. They tried to pull down their top laner, but on the flip side, Slappy Joe was able to also, isn't this just King Coney?
I think so. Can somebody verify that for me?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is Coney.
Oh boy, but Cyan Kip is going to fall. Slappy does have their Ghost, does have Ragnarok, does have Flash, but it's not enough. Capelot is able to get it, and Akuma Distortion going to get punished for overstaying in the top lane. Now, they might even get punished in the bottom lane. Zeha and Fail's going to be at less than half HP, with 30 seconds remaining until turret play to fall.
Oh no,
it's been a very explosive game so far, and maybe an overextension coming in from Fails and Zeha. A lot of damage on the Oreo Murderer, gonna be hitting that depth charge, but not enough damage to be able to take him out. Meanwhile, Younglin, no flash available for themselves. Zeha is able to get away with the cleanse flash combo, but now with Oreo Murderer and Younglin overextended, Oreo's going to be able to get out. IRS Bounty Hunter does not land the Scatter of the Week. Younglin does have the barrier available, and Oreo trying to come back. Will go down as Mentos comes through. Not going to drop the Shockwave, but is going to stay in the lane for a little while longer. Going to get a little bit more damage on the Bounty Hunter, but they will now be able to back away.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of an unfortunate play, let's call it. Younglin not able to get enough done in that one. But I mean, this game is going so well for Akuma. I feel like the fact that you're able to, you know, yes, you lose the 2 dragons. Actually, this might be a bit of a play here. Capelot might be just trying to go for a steal, but fails. We'll be able to suss this one out. No Cyclone, but the Shockwave is available. And Cyan Kip is just ignoring it, trying to play for the Herald, sorry. But no smite on either jungler here.
And let's see if Zeha can use that curtain call. Big damage on the Mentos, but Mentos gets away just long enough to drop the Shockwave. Rift Herald goes down to Cyan Kip, as Slappy Joe's not going to go back into the fight. On to Capelot, going to drop that Ragnarok, and is going to be dealing massive damage to Youngkin. Snorlax is now next. Capelot is low, tries to go in, gives another kill over to Akuma Distortion. Slappy gets a double kill, and it is a 4-for-1 trade.
Can confirm, by the way, that Slappy Joe is not Coney. I'm just, you know, losing my mind. But anyway, very nicely well played. Cyan Kip had full confidence in their team there. And honestly, Capelot, I feel like, was getting a little bit desperate. There's Oreo Murderer is getting run down by Zeha, who is not going to have nearly enough damage. Look at the healing coming out from the Mantra W of Oreo Murderer. That is very tragic for Zeha, who gets bamboozled there by the pure tankiness of the Karma. Whoa! Someone get this guy a license to drive. Cyan Kip, truly a master of the Rift Herald. That's what you get from from either watching a crazy Chinese TikTok or, you know, just having that much skill with the Herald to be able to drive it. By the way, from second tier tower to bot tier 1, that is insane.
Yeah, that is insane for sure, and the gold lead is reflecting that insanity as well. Let's take a look at that individual gold here, Caddy, because I think we're going to be seeing a big problem that Novasphere is going to be having to handle. We're looking at 2 items now completed for Slappy Joe, Cyan Kip, and Bounty Hunter before the 20-minute mark. All of them putting in massive work right now, and having 4 towers now down. Akuma Distortion has a lot of gold moving into the mid game. They have a lot of gold moving into this next dragon to stop what Novasphere might be looking for as a win condition here, Septi.
Yeah, I gotta say, Fails' item is a little bit interesting to me. The fact that they went for the Knight's Vow first item, I feel like, I'm not sure who you put that on. Maybe you put it on the Olaf just to stop that little bit of extra damage going through. But I mean, I'm gonna take a quick peek around to see who has the buff. Currently, no one has the Knight's Vow buff, as Fails has yet to attach to anyone. But anyway, I mean, yeah, 2 items across the top and jungle and mid lane, sorry, for Akuma is, as you said, going to be a big problem come this 3rd dragon. But I think if you are the side, you know, of hope.
Okay, we are going to get a team fight in the mid lane. Snorlax's going to not be able to get the second headbutt of their Ornhorn, and now Slappy Joe's going to come through with the Ghost, with the Ragnarok, in on the Mentos, going to go for the Orianna, who is now dead. Shockwave still in tow. Younglin is next.
Cooking.
Ragnarok is now down. Slappy Joe wants it. Slappy Joe trying to get it. No barrier. Still available for Youngin. Oreo giving that shielding available. And because they were not there, Capelon was able to get into the backline of Akuma Distortion and will be able to pick up Slappy Joe, Cyan Kip, and Bounty Hunter. Zayon trying to be able to take out Capelon with a combo, unable to do so. And Akuma Distortion a little bit overconfident there. Gonna give up 3rd dragon to Novasphere Gaming. That is sole point at 18.5 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like the fight went almost exactly how Akuma wanted it. But Slappy Joe, for one reason or another, just could not keep up with Younglin, with Oreo Murderer, despite the fact that this Olaf, you know, was ulted, had the ghost popped, as well as a stride breaker. So just good play around the vision, good shielding coming out from the support of Novasphere Gaming. And now, yeah, as you said, Soul Point gonna go the way of this blue side. Has a nice cheeky stop there onto Younglin. But yeah, I mean, let's not panic, right? It's still 4,000 gold in favor of Akuma. I think that they're in a good spot. I don't really know if you could have asked for a better way that fight would have gone, because if I'm looking at that fight, if that fight happens, you know, 10 times, I'm pretty sure that Slappy Joe kills the entire, you know, backside of that fight 8 times out of 10. We just, you know, landed on the 1 of 10, or the 2 out of 10. As Fails very far ahead of the play here, but TP baited out though.
And now we got the play out of Fails. Younglin lands a beautiful Enchanted Crystal Arrow from downtown. And that's going to give NSGA their 13th kill and a power play for another 15 seconds. Slappy Joe uses that Ragnarok a little bit earlier, but Capelot not going to go for that Cyclone. Does not have it available. 14 seconds remaining until Baron spawns. I don't know if that is an opportunity to go for that play. However, there is a lot of gold still on the Rift for Novasphere Gaming to pick up. They will pick up some of that gold with a outer tower of the top lane getting taken to lower that deficit even further.
I think you're okay with that if you're Akuma. You know, you get the TP out of Ornn, you're able to now match the Olaf against the enemy's top lane without fear of getting outnumbered on the other side. It's unfortunate the Fails had to go down for it, but I like the idea. I don't know if the Nautilus quite knew the piece that they were biting off, as almost caught the karma basing there. But I think it's worth the trade. Shinja was able to get a good chunk on that bot tower as well, and now your Olaf, you know, has ulti back, no ghost just yet, but should have it up for this dragon in 3 minutes time, no problem. As we see some bases coming out from the side of Akuma, and that is a finished Divine Sunderer from the Olaf. And I don't know, that item, I don't know how I feel about that. because I think it's great, generally. But on a champion who you're worried about, getting outrun, on a champion that you're worried about, not being able to continue fighting, it is what it is. I think it's fine for Slappy Joe. I would have just liked to maybe see, tier 2 boots first, potentially. Just as a, a bit of personal preference, Olaf with move speed and all is.
Yeah, I mean, if you want that movement speed.
Yeah, if you want to be able to reset your ulti again and again, something about movement speed. I'm not quite sure.
Fair enough. We'll go ahead and we'll see the action now in the river. Snorlax and Capalot, as well as Oreo Murder, are now going to try to go into the river. Who's going to be able to get that Rift Herald? Snorlax going to drop the Ornhorn to be able to get the knock-up in on Slappy Joe. He's going to have to force use that Ragnarok. Is also going to use the Flash to go in on a Younglin, who goes down, followed by Oreo Murderer. And this time, they're able to have that big impact inside the back line of Novasphere Gaming. 3 members of Novasphere are now dead, but Cyan Kip, the jungler for Akuma Distortion, goes down. And there could be an opportunity for Novasphere Gaming to contest a Baron, which means Akuma cannot go for it. Instead, they're going to try to push these lanes forward.
Yeah, I think they're going to try and use their 6 scrubs here to the best of their advantage. There is a wave in bot lane, but I think it'll die before they get there. Keep in mind, TP was used by Iris Bounty Hunter and not X-Mentos, because that could potentially spell a disaster if there is a flank where there is not for the time being. So Akuma most likely would just have to take what they have gotten in the last 30 seconds or risk overextending here, as there is no TP on the other 2 members. But a ward will spot out Capalot, and we'll have a timer on this red buff. So not the end of the world, and a decent ward setup for this dragon in a minute's time. I have to say though, Fails on this Nautilus has done a good job of setting up wards. We can see the entire jungle littered, and if there isn't a ward, Zeha has most likely placed a trap. As Oreo Murderer now back on the map first is going to try and do their best to counter with their own vision and try and set up for what would be a soul for this Novasphere side. And very risky from Oreo Murderer, has no vision in that area and is very bravely walking up to clear that ward. Gonna take a base now, 25 seconds to try and refresh the wards. But in that time, Akuma will most likely have push and be able to sweep the wards themselves. And if you're Novasphere Moose, I think you're pretty happy just letting this one go by the wayside.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I would have more preferred maybe a threat towards Baron during this timer, because you have the opportunity to go for it. Instead, they're going to push those lanes forward. There is plenty of gold still to be had along the
they are not going to let it go.
And we are going to get that teleport into the mid lane. Dragon is not yet started by Akuma, now just on it by Cyan Kip, and now the initiation from Novasphere into the river. Going to try to go for the knockup, not able to get the kill onto the dragon, but now the initiation of the fight. Curtain Call is going to go on a post from Novasphere. Akuma Distortion trying to be able to take out Fails. Fails will go down to Mentos. Mentos still has their shockwaves available, doesn't need it, as Capalot is able to take out Cyan Kip with the Cyclone. 2 members of Akuma Distortion are now dead, and Novasphere Gaming now have the opportunity to get so much more on the Rift.
Yeah, Novasphere should be able to take this timer to grab this bot, as well as deny any jungle camps that they find in their way. Very, very strange for Iris Bounty Hunter to use the stun like that in a poking manner, especially when you see Hackshores TP in on this Ornn. You know that they're looking to fight the second that they do, and you burn such a critical cooldown when the Call of the Forge God is available. It's unfortunate, and I think that both Cyan Kip and Fails paid the price for it. On the other side, Slappy Joe tried to chase after Mentos to deny the shockwave, but instead did not have the flash to be able to follow the Orianna over the wall, and as a result sort of just pitted away from that fight. But 2-0, but the dragon goes the way of Akuma. So again, not the end of the world, but still the gold lead is not expanding. In fact, I believe it has stayed stagnant for about the last 5 minutes.
It's actually shrunk. It was about 4,000 at the 23-minute mark, and now we are down to a little bit under 3, about 3,500 at this point. What does that item disparity mean? 3 items for Bounty Hunter comparatively to the components for Mentos, and we're going to see those items in place as Baron is now going to get started by Akuma Distortion.
He's panicked. Oh,
And
the
now we're
Ornhorn's gonna
get
win.
the Ornhorn missing. Slappy Joe gonna kind of come through. Curtain Call once again is gonna be uninhibited. Akuma Distortion gonna try to get that damage. Mento's gonna take it, gonna be able to get that shielding back up. Lots of damage on the Snorlax, but it's still alive. Camelot's gonna try to come through. Shockwave is massive, but it's not enough. All of Novasphere Gaming goes down, and Akuma Distortion gets the ace.
There's no way for them to end the game, and so the Penguins are going to go on to Baron. Unfortunate for Akuma, but a very, very nice fight. When we talked about the goalie being stagnant, but no longer. It's going to shoot back up to 6K. That is before they even take the Baron. 300 gold a piece there, and I was worried. I personally was concerned that this Baron start was a bit of a panicked play, because when you think about it, in theory, I believe Orianna was most likely out of position when they started this Baron, as I think Mentos joined late, and so Novasphere was unable to really pressure them off the Baron, and so the Ornn ult was forced to be used early. But yeah, when you think about it, right, Wukong and Orianna and Ashe against into the confined pit of Baron just seems really scary for the side of Akuma, but they were not worried whatsoever. They're able to take the fight, they're able to take the win, they're able to grab the Baron, and they are pushing out onto the map. And look at where those waves are. That is gorgeous. Pushed on top, pushed on bot, and now they're going to try and push in mid to get control of this bot side jungle.
And Dragon is going to spawn in 145, which means that Baron will be available for them to take if they do decide to go that route. Cyankip is going to get caught out here, though, and could potentially be in trouble, but Bounty Hunter is going to be there in response. Ornhorn is going to get dropped, going to try to go up against Cyankip. Ornhorn is going to be able to get the knock, but it doesn't land in. On it fails with Zeha. Big damage coming through from Slappy Joe as they get the double kill once again into the back line, and that's going to be 4 members of Novasphere Gaming dead. Mentos the only one alive. Curtain Call now going to be used, and that will seal the doom of Novasphere Gaming. Once again, it's going to be the ace, and I assume that'll be game 1 going to Akuma Distortion.
Yeah, and a very, very quick 1-2 punch in succession here for Akuma. That first fight around Baron, and then this follow-up one in the bot side jungle. It seemed as though Novasphere were prepared for it in a way. They wanted to try and go for the play with, Hacksource walking in, trying to find their way, but it will not matter. Akuma will take a very, very clean end to this game. Baron and end just the way you like it. Game 1 to Akuma.
And I have to critique Novasphere here just a little bit, because you've got the team fight composition and you have so many tools at your disposal. Cyclone, Ornhorn, Shockwave. There were multiple team fights where Zeha was able to get off all 4 of their shots from Curtain Call and was unopposed. Someone needed to get back there and make sure that that big damage was not able to be landing freely. And I think that the damage meters are maybe a little bit not showing the full picture, because landing that 4th shot of Curtain Call could deal massive damage to a backline member, and I think that was a big problem in some of those team fights.
No, I mean, it's so hard. I think the Wombo combo is great in theory, but you run out of steam at some point, and so if you're not immediately onto the Jhin, if you're not immediately onto the Syndra, you kind of are just going to get run down, especially if they're spread out, right? Because there is not a world where you will find Jhin, Graves, Syndra all standing on top of each other, and if you do, there's most likely a Nautilus and an Olaf standing in the way that prevents you from getting to them. And so, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Someone has to find a way to get into that backline. And in theory, it should be the Ornhorn, bunching them up, making them go backwards, and allowing you, with the speed up from Karma, with the jump from Wukong, to find that collapse. But it just was not meant to be. And I think a lot of the time it was in thanks to Slappy Joe on this Olaf, who was, from the start of every team fight, jumping onto the backline, popping the Ragnarok, and really running down anyone who could be a threat to their backline. I think maybe 3 times in this game we saw the Orianna get chased off by the Olaf, purely because if they didn't walk back, they were going to die and end the fight with Shockwave up, and Olaf still very much alive. And there was just not enough tank shred. There was not enough way to break the front line. Yes, you had Wombo combo, but you had no way to actually use it well. A lot of the best combos we see, I think Wukong and Orianna is a great combination, but there needs to be an additional source of damage. You cannot have 3 setup champions. If Ashe is a Jinx, if Ashe is an Aphelios that can, deal damage on top of your Wombo combo, that's amazing. But, you have 3 setup champs, or sorry, I guess you have 5 setup champions. Orin, Wukong, Orianna, Ashe, Karma, all setup champs. No one's really gonna, DPS down a Graves with 5 stacks and Olaf who is, constantly healing with that Sundered Sky, or with that Divine Sunder, or Sundered Sky, sorry. And a Nautilus who is, very tanky themselves. It's just gonna be too hard to do, especially, when Akuma is, using their Jhin to play 10 screens away, and their Olaf and Graves to just be in your face the whole time.
Definitely. And the last point that I'll take when it comes to break, because I think that we didn't talk about it, Bounty Hunter, almost doubling the damage of Mentos. I think some great shockwaves coming in from Mentos, but it was another one of those situations where Bounty Hunter was able to, I think, get a lot more value out of their disruption. Yes, they made a couple of mistakes in some of those team fights. That's why the game was within 4,000 gold for most of 25 minutes. Not that only reason being the reason, but the fact that Bounty Hunter was able to get a lot more value out of the gold that they were able to get. I think that really highlights this front to back style that Akuma was able to build, letting their DPS just free fire on the members of Novasphere, which just overall gave them the win, especially in those last 2 team fights. With that being said, we are going to take it to a quick break. When we return, we'll jump in to game 2 between Akuma Distortion and Novasphere Gaming Alpha. Should be a fun one. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Aegis Marauders League. We are now in game 2 of our streamed week 4 matchup. Akuma Distortion beating out Novasphere Gaming Alpha in game 1, albeit for 23-24 minutes. It could have been a toss-up. It could have gone either way. And so as we go into this draft, I'm curious to see how Novasphere maybe looks to adapt, if they want to stay with that Team 5 composition, or if they want to go for something different.
Well, they have to go for something different, Moose, because we are in a fearless tournament for the time being. Yeah,
no.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. So no champions from the last game are going to be available for this one. Bans are still up and available, so that's why we're seeing similar bans for the time being. Gwennon's taken away again, but we will not see any of the stars of last game. So far, no changes other than sides for these teams. Akuma now on the blue side and Novasphere moving to the red after losing game number 1. So curious to see. They obviously want to do something with counterpick. I think they want to try and find a good matchup for their top laner here, because this Ornn, I mean, despite it being a counterpick, that was not it. And honestly, I don't know if counterpick does anything, because after game number 1, I feel like you would have been happy with your draft. I feel like, despite I think in draft you're okay. I don't know if it's really to blame for anything that happened in game. I think it was playable despite my rant earlier on, but Corki going to get picked up here, did receive a bit of a buff on the previous patch. But I guess Akuma believe it is worthy of being skyrocketed to blue oneable. On the other side, Novasphere toying with a Lilia pick.
Yeah, and I love this. We saw Bounty Hunter play it in the AML last season. The Corki, I think, is pretty powerful with the champion, and I think that it does give that B1 opportunity that Nico, instead, like you said, getting taken away. Lilia is going to get locked in, as you were talking about. And I like this because I think that with the power of Capelot being so strong so far in the AML, if you can get a Lilia really going, it can be very difficult for any team to be able to combat that, especially once you get that Zhonya's Hourglass. And now Jace getting locked in, this indicates to me that we're going to be seeing a mid-game style composition from Novasphere.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to try and play again around, or I mean, they're going to try and switch it up this game. They're going to play around the push from mid or top. Elise going to get locked in, though. Very, very interesting here for Akuma. Did just get a bit of a nerf, though, on the last patch. Got a bit of an armor nerf. But the champion has been so strong with the items, with the new items. I say new to Elise items, such as the Storm Surge and the new Shadow Flame. They have been so good for this Elise. We saw it at Worlds even. I think that game was a little bit underwhelming for her, as I think the champion is very, very good. Rel gonna get locked in as well by Akuma. I really like this answer, as not really too many ways to stop it so far. On the other side, I imagine Poppy would be a great pickup if Novasphere decided to play it. It is good both into the Rel and the Corki. But we will have to see. Maybe they decide to go for AD and ban away anything that could be potentially harmful. But yeah, again, remember, the champion pools are already pinched by those 10 champions you see below our frames. Alistar going to get picked up. A nice answer to the Rel.
And now I'm curious to see how the rest of the bans get played out. Silas getting taken away. I mean, Alistar probably pretty good with that Unbreakable Will. And now that does indicate to me, are we going to be seeing those big ultimates come out from R4 and R5 from Novasphere, that they use one of their bans to take that Silas away? Most likely it would have had to have gone into the top lane here, Septi. So really fearing that. So I'm expecting some big ultimates coming out of Novasphere as Azeri now gets banned out.
Yeah, I mean, Silas is often, very, very, very good into Alistar. You get the damage reduction as well as that ability to break yourself out of, in this game, what could be a nasty sleep from the Lilia. But on the other side, Novasphere going to be banning away Camille as well. A champion that is very good into Alistar, as it does allow for the true damage to cut through that damage reduction. But another champion that does true damage is that Corki. and a whole lot of mixed damage into the potentially tanky Alistar. But I think Novasphere have a very competent composition here. The Alistar is very good. It is very good into Elise because you can eat the cocoon and then completely cleanse yourself of that CC. Combined with the Alistar, this is a very, very nice composition from Novasphere. I think that they have a competent identity. Unlike the last time, there is more than enough damage to compensate for the utility and for the desired play style. So we're gonna have to see how Akuma can round it out. I imagine we will see a pushing top laner, potentially a Renekton, and a AD carry or mid laner that can match well into the Jace.
Yeah, I think that Renekton might have been even good for Novasphere here. You maybe have the opportunity to go for you're going to go for that Ezreal, I think, no matter what. But if you give that Renekton over to Akuma, that might be a little bit of a bad news bear situation. But the Hui is going to get locked in. I would be expecting that would then go into the bottom lane position, unless they want to go for something scary here in B5. The only concern, Rel, once again, not a lot of front line. So instead, it is going to be that Garen, and we will see what the response is from Novasphere. Potentially even that Darius Septi.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I think Volibear is very good.
Yeah.
I think Trundle's very good as well. I think a lot of these champions that we've seen is the top laner for Novasphere play. Garen is also Gragas, sorry, is also very good. You do have to be a little bit careful that you don't get silenced before you're able to proc your phase rush. But it's really the only thing you have to be fearful of. And I'm curious now to see where this Hui goes. I imagine it's Corki mid, Hui bot. That would sort of be where my head is at, just because the Hui is going to be able to wave clear. The Rel is going to be able to roam around with Elise. And I mean, try and play to dive waves, or try and play to dive the members of Novasphere on repeat, while the Hui just, wave clears for free.
No. I've got it. It's gotta be the Garen mid lane.
Garen Rel bot. Oh.
It's got to be that Garen mid lane. Shout out to Max.
It might be. It could be Corki top.
I think that wouldn't be too bad. I mean, Garen against Jace, I feel like Garen does fine. Yeah. And could really push that out. And if you put Corki on the top side, Gragas might have a hard time being able to kind of push that lane forward. And so I don't know. I feel a little bit underwhelmed by the Gragas pickup. I just worry that Novasphere maybe doesn't have that bridge into the mid game, and if Akuma is able to somehow get those early kills and maybe those early neutral objectives, I think it's gonna be really difficult for them to be able to hit those power spikes. I
think we need to be honest with ourselves. Novasphere, while their composition does look nice on paper, it doesn't really spike until they get to that first or second item. They are gonna do well once they get there, but there is as you said, the bridge factor that Lilia does not really provide as much of an early game presence as something like an Elise does. They have great mid to late game on this red side, but Akuma also has some fairly good pieces, and they have the snap engage from the Rel. Granted, Novasphere also has that Alistar and the Gragas, so I think the tipping point is going to be this Elise. I think it has the same stigma as a Nidalee. When you look at it, it is off meta. It is a champion that you only play if you have a lot of mastery on. And so, I mean, after that last game with the Graves, I feel like we have to trust Cyankip to go into this game with a plan to deal with the Lilia, because obviously saw the Lilia Jace and thought that this would be the right idea. And it's not going to be anything crazy. It's going to be the lanes that we expected. Hui bot, Corki mid, Garen top into the
thank God. I mean, I would have loved some exciting lane changes, but nonetheless, I think that both teams have an opportunity to win this one. The onus is on Novasphere to not allow Akuma to get too far ahead before they reach that 2-item power spike. We're going to be seeing a lot of Tear of the Goddesses here, Septi, and so I want to see at least 3, and I want to see Novasphere be able to get there. I'm predicting 4 with the Corki, but we'll see.
My 4th would have been Gragas, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it was Gragas, Ezreal, Jace, Corki.
Yeah, could be 4.
Yeah.
While we are cooking here in the kitchen, we should also cook a bit on our dragon draft.
Yeah, and you won with the Cloud Soul. It had to happen. You willed it into existence.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go with Infernal Soul.
All right. Let me back the winner, Cloud again.
Okay.
And, I'll take the dragon I neglected last game. Give me Ocean.
Ocean, interesting. Well, I'm gonna take Mountain, and I'm gonna take Chemtech, which is gonna leave you with your favorite, the Hextech Soul.
Just the coolest dragon.
I mean, it is the coolest dragon for sure. And I think that this game, draft wise, I think that Novasphere maybe has it in the bag. Looking at the execution that Akuma had in game 1, I'm feeling confident that they're going to be able to pull it off. So I give the win to Akuma here, but like a 60-40 septi.
That's fair. And I'm going to pull another audible like I did before we started here, because now seems like as great a time as any to talk a bit about our other things here at Aegis. I know, Moose. I'm sorry. I'm pulling the wool over your eyes.
Please do.
But yeah, no, if you guys are at all interested, if you guys love the AML like we do here, please come back and take a look at our other leagues here we got going on. On Mondays yesterday, we had the ADL. It was XG Gnomes versus Shirley Not. Go and take a look at the VODs to find that one. It was a banger series. On Thursdays, we have the AEL. And on Fridays, we have our premier ACL, which is our uncapped league. And on this Friday, November 1st, can you believe it's almost November? We're going to have Ember Foxes versus Clown Gaming. Two teams that are, well, Clown Gaming is very well known, I think, in the scene. And Ember Foxes looking to take a good fight to them moving in to this week of ACL. But yeah, with that said, we're going to take a short break before we get into game number 2 of Novasphere Gaming Alpha versus Akuma, I believe, Distortion.
Yeah.
Yes, I should have said that with more confidence. We'll see you right. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift, everybody, to the start of Game 2 between Akuma Distortion and Novasphere Gaming Alpha. And I think we both predicted 4 Tier of the Goddesses in this game, and we've already got one Septi. Snorlax going to pop that off at the beginning of this match.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only one we're waiting on is going to be Corki, because most definitely Jace and Ezreal are going to go for it. Not sure what the Corki build is this patch. There was a bit of a change. Got a nice buff to their ulti, to their passive, and to their rockets. So we'll be doing a little bit more damage as a little bit of a trade of autos in the mid lane. And I gotta say, the only thing I noticed early on is that Cyan Kip has a potion and a sweeper, which to me signals that this Elise is going to do some invading, wants to brawl, wants to fight, and wants to have the HP and capacity to be unseen in doing so. So going to be starting those Raptors for both junglers. And I imagine we will see a very similar situation with Cyan Kip potentially playing with the push that Hui might get early on and play an invade on this blue.
Yeah, and I need to get your opinion on this because I'm a little bit surprised. Snorlax the top laner here for Novasphere, Hack Source, going for that Tier of the Goddess first and going for Grasp of the Undying instead of that Phase Rush Septi. Is that normal, or is that maybe unexpected?
In this lane, I mean, I feel like you are going to have a hard time killing the Garen ever. This was something that you'd see a lot of the time back when Everfrost was an item, back when you can build the CC. There will most definitely be a Fimbulwinter completed on this Gragas this game, so don't expect an Archangels. But, you know, just going to be playing for as much tank as possible. Gragas alongside the Alistar is a very beefy frontline. But I think credit goes to Capelot here. Reads the invade coming out from the Elise very well and is going to match it with one of her own. But critically, though, was spotted leaving the Raptor pit. So Akuma should be very well aware of what is going on their top side. As we see Cyan Kip on their last camp here. No one low enough really to get dove at this timer. So instead, we'll just walk it out and go back to their camps to finish it off. And I think this Grasp is going to be something just to survive lane. It is a good, very short trading pattern. But as you can see, without the Phase Rush, it's going to be very hard to actually walk away from the Garen once you finish that trade. So going to be a hard lane for Snorlax to actually get stuff done. Slappy Joe, once again, playing for lane. Oh, as a big trade onto the mid lane. The Valkyrie the wrong way. But Mentos takes so much damage from the Gatling gun of Iris Bounty Hunter that it is almost not a problem that the Valkyrie went awry.
I mean, for sure. Mentos going to have those potions, going to be able to use those, as both teams going to have a member of their roster going to have to CS under tower. So far, the CS is even in the top lane, but despite Younglin being pressured with a aggressive push at the beginning of this game, still has a CS advantage against Zeha. I mean, do you think that this is a... Do you think this was... I mean, this has to have been a deliberate option, but it's a bit of a change from what Zeha normally has played here in the AML.
I think Zeha has been hanging out with X-Fluke a little bit too much.
Okay.
With this one. No, I mean, Hui has always been a champion that's been teased to play in the bot lane. It is much like the Ziggs. It is much like Ezreal, I'd say. But it gets pushed very easily. It plays very similarly to the Ziggs of old, where you just press 2 spells and all of a sudden the wave is dead. But, you know, can do that at level 2, pretty much. As we see this Gragas now completely out of mana on the top side. Has no way of getting the wave out. Has to call their top laner there as Mentos TP'd back to mid just to walk the wave in top side. So that'll get a free base for Iris Bounty Hunter, as well as maybe even a plate for the Corki.
Yeah, we'll see what they are able to get there. Cyan Kip is moving in pursuit against Mentos, and Mentos might even get further dismayed here Does look like they were able to avoid the stun, so they will be able to get back, but it is that turret plate, as you had alluded to, Septi, as the Tier of the Goddesses now completed for Snorlax, Mentos, Bounty Hunter, Zeha, Younglin. Everyone is crying in this game, Septi.
Everyone is gonna be stacking some mana. Honestly, I kind of forgot that Hui's build this. I think they sort of have an option of going for that Blackfire Torch first item and going for an Archangel's build, but gonna be playing for the spamming spells option. Could still obviously go for the Blackfire Torch first if they want to. Just gonna be stacking it here for now. But Cyan Kip, I think it's been pretty quiet this game. I want to talk about this at least because she's a champion that you really cannot afford to be wasting time on. No smite though available, as
we are going to get the play coming in from Rel. Nice stun, followed up by big damage on a Capilot, but we'll be able to get that move and speed to be able to get away, as well as that flash. Should be able to get out, but now Mento's going to be able to go in on Cyan Kip, going to be able to get them down to about 250 HP. We are going to get a potential back from Thales. No, they're going to be staying on the top side a little while longer to be able to get them their third Void Grub. That is all three of them going to Akuma Distortion. Novasphere gets nothing.
Yeah, and unlike last game, no trade of the dragon early on, so it just means that they're going to have to limp away without their flash on Capilot. I think a good engage from Fails there. I almost said his actual name.
How dare you?
I know. But a great play as Mentos taking a beating from this Corki, who has, let me tell you, just a Doran's Blade and a longsword. That auto is hurting. And I think similar to the last game, Slappy Joe is just going to be able to just beat on these towers while the Gragas can do nothing but watch. And I think critically knowing that this Lilia was just on the top side of the map is going to be able to freely start proxying these waves. And if the Lilia shows up on the top side, it's a free dragon, it's a free dive on bot. Yes, the Ezreal has cleanse, but I don't know if it really matters. With the Hui ult, with the Elise damage, it is very painful to get caught. Yeah, no. Instead, Capilot just going to try and, finish their farm. Can we talk about how crazy this is that the Elise is matching the Lilia on clear speed? Yes, I know it's inflated a little bit because of the grubs, but that's disastrous for Lilia.
Yeah, I mean, lots of momentum coming in for Cyan Kip, and Slappy Joe is playing with absolute fire here. Both junglers were spotted on the bottom side of the rift, and so both of them are going for proxy CS on both sides here, Septi. I love to see it. And both junglers again being seen. It's crazy. And I have to give, Snorlax their credit here. Despite, being a little bit behind in CS, I think that they're doing their job. They're making sure that they do not give Slappy Joe too much of an advantage. As long as they don't die here.
As long as they don't die here, but the adage goes, actually, I totally, you said a second part and I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, no, sorry. It goes, you go for my top laner, I go for the dragon. So first dragon will get picked up by the Lily here. It will be that ocean dragon, the one that you picked that was missing from last game. Now it makes a show as the first one of this. Don't worry, it's mine, so the odds in your favor.
Thank God.
Yeah, or thank the RNG, but
thank COD even. I'm not a God worshiper. I'm a sun worshiper. So I'll thank the CODs here, but. We are going to get an initiation in on Ira's Bounty Hunter. Swirl Seed is going to be seeing that Cyan Kip is now there. 3 members of both Novasphere and Akuma Distortion now into the mid lane to try to maybe push this lane forward. Neither of them going to be able to get that objective, which means that both bottom lanes are going to be in a 1v1. But look at this aggressive position coming in from Akuma. They're going to be able to go and get the spider, and now they're looking to be able to get more. A lot of damage on Oreo. Going to drop the Unbreakable Will. 4-man looting Lullaby. True Shot Barrage landing as well, but a knockout coming in from Fails. Mento's going to be forced to flash. Going to try to be able to get away from Bounty Hunter. Not being able to get it. Not enough damage from the explosive cast. Capilot cannot take out Slappy Joe. But 1 kill. Gonna go the way of Younglin. Gonna be able to take out Cyan Kip. That's gonna be 2 as Bounty Hunter goes down. Fails is gonna be next. And that is going to mean that that is a 2-for-3 play in favor of Novasphere in the long game, a 3-for-3. But Zeha is going to be able to get 2 turret plates in the bottom lane.
Yeah, it's going to get a big chunk on this bot tower, get a big chunk of gold in their own pocket of Killsworth almost. And we got to talk about where that gold went for the side of Novasphere. It went on to the Gragas, who is arguably the person who had been struggling the most in this game. I mean, it's kind of critical that they were able to get that gold. They had just enough mana, were able to body slam flash as Younglin. It's going to go up to this top side. Grubs will reset though for a second and give Akuma just enough time potentially to get back into it. No ultis on anyone really. We have a couple form transformations available, but Royal Murderer gonna try
to push Fails away. Now we've got 2 Void Grubs taken by Novasphere, but now the collapse is going to come in from Akuna. A lot of damage in on a Snorlax who has no mana and potentially no hope of being able to get out. Slappy Joe's going to be going on a killing spree. Now 3-0-1. 2 of those Void Grubs go to Novasphere, but the lion's share go to Akuma. I liked the play, Septi, just a little bit too late.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to get back to the play despite dying second in that topside fight. And yes, you get 1, which I think is really important for this game. The fact that you get that extra buff on the tower damage. Slappy Joe, I don't think understands what's going on around him. Has a big wave though. And just look at the damage. Capilot has not committed to the play, does not have the Lilting Lullaby yet. And so this Garen might be able to take one with them should they decide to go for the play.
Now we'll see if that Lilting Lullaby gets popped. That's going to be the explosive cast use. Slappy Joe unable to get it, and all of that shutdown money gonna go into Capilot. Also has a Dark Seal. Now 3 stacks on that. I think that's a big kill for Novasphere.
No, it absolutely is. The shutdown of the unclean 286 gold, as it was changed on the previous patch. So no longer are we going to get the clean 750 gold bounties that we saw once upon a time. They are now, you know, made to somewhat make sense with the amount of gold that someone gets. But yeah, as you said, the kill gold going the way of Lilia should have enough to finish that. Leandri's on base, but really wants to get this full clear done and should be able to. Nothing really pressing on the map as the bot wave does get pushed in. The mid laner is basing and their top laner is very safe in this 1v0 matchup. Does end up getting the plates, so very nice for the Gragas. Finished that Rod of Aegis with the kills received from that previous fight, and so looking pretty good in that top side. I'm not really sure about the build versus the runes. Slappy Joe gonna spin to win.
Gonna get hit by the knockup though. Explosive Cask is almost ready, but I want to point out the impressive siege that Akuma Distortion has had before the 14-minute marks. They have been able to take out 7 turret plates comparatively to the 3 that Novasphere has been able to complete. That is attributing to this 1,000 gold lead that Akuma is able to pick up. And all of those turret plates in the bottom lane, all of that money going straight into Zeha's pocket. They have their first item along with Slappy Joe, who had that killing spree. And so I think Zeha very happy about that, but now we're going to get a play on his Snorlax and to try to go for the explosive cast. Are they going to be able to get the kill on the Slappy Joe, who does have the Judgment available, but does not need it? And now we are going to get the play into the bottom lane. Magus is going to get a drop onto both members, on Mento and Oreo. They're not going to be able to take out IRS Bounty Hunter, and Oreo's going to be forced to flash away. True Shot Barrage gets missed. And that's going to mean that Akuna gets 2.
The hands of a surgeon. Very calm there from Iris Bounty Hunter to not flash away from the True Shot Barrage. Gets the kill. They killed the Gragas on the top side as well. Not even having to use the Demacian Justice. It is a 2,000 gold lead now for the side of Akuma. Iris Bounty Hunter is able to get back onto the map here. Psykip and Fails are now here.
Youngling does not yet have flash available, and Oreo Murderer is going to be down. Cleanse going to get used, as well as the Arcane Shift, but it wasn't enough to get away from the Spider Queen. Cyan Kip is going to get a double kill. Dragon is available for use for Akuma Distortion.
Yeah, with the bot tower falling, the mid tower is surely to follow soon. As you said, the Dragon is spawning. Yeah, no, it is incredible, the stagger here. Cyan Kip, actually, you do not know who's around the corner.
And now let's see if Cyan Kip is going to be able to get out, going to go into that spider frame, is going to try to be able to escape, as Fails is going to jump in, maybe a little bit too far forward. Nice explosive cast coming in from Snorlax, and Cyan Kip is going to go down. Next is going to be Novasphere. Next is going to be Bounty Hunter. Novasphere responds with 3 kills of their own. Dragon is still up, as well as that Rift Herald.
I think that's a play where you kind of just have to let Fails die. Took the Hex Flash in and signed their own death warrant by doing so. It is so hard to try and follow that play, especially, you know, when the Gragas makes a good play and moves down to help them out. And a great cast as well to catch the Elise there is very nicely well played by the top laner of this red team here. Dragon will go their way, 2 now for the side of red team. As Lilia now gonna be a little bit cheeky, try and go for these grubs or these raptors as well. We'll get spotted though by Fails. Flash Q.
Oh no, the fear is gonna land. Capalot does not have the Zonias, the Seeker's Arm Guard available yet. They will lose 5 stacks on that Dark Seal. Fails is immediately going to go into the river to clear out some of that vision. They will be able to do that. Rift Herald is now up for the taking with the jungler dead for Novasphere.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit greedy from Capalot. Did not have the push in mid, did not have the push in bot. But I think something we have to talk about, though, is still that top lane gold lead for Slappy Joe there. That it's about, if we want to flip to the gold real quick before this mid lane tower goes down, to have a quick chat about it. If not, it's totally fine. I can read it out. It's about 600 or 1600 gold in favor of this Garen on the top side, and that amounts to, I mean, the same items. It amounts to a boot lead for the Garen. The rest of the map is pretty, it's not even, I'd say. It's about 800 gold for mid and 80 carry of Akuma, but then the jungler of Capalot, despite, you know, going down here, very close, actually, not going to go down.
Yeah, Flash gonna get used. Demacian Justice also there. Slappy Joe's gonna get hit by the explosive cast, by the body slam, but not yet is dead. Can they survive? No, they can't. Snorlax is gonna be able to take that kill to make it a 1-0 in favor of Novasphere. Now we got the collapse in, coming in from Mentos, coming in from Snorlax, but they're already half HP. They're gonna go down. Psychic is gonna be able to get 1. Oreo Murderer gonna go in. They're gonna give another kill over to Zeha. That's gonna give it a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Akuma Distortion. Bounty Hunter is going to flash forward, does not go down. Mento's going to be very low, but 4 members of Akuma Distortion pushing forward, going to look to try to get this kill against Mentos, who's going to look to escape. They're not going to be able to do it. That Rift Herald now spawned. Are they going to be able to take someone with them? The answer is no. They use Flash and they're unable to get the kill. Inner tower goes down, and Akuma Distortion will now increase their lead to almost 6,000 gold before the 20-minute mark.
More drifter from Cyan Kip, but actually we'll get sniped there. As the TP coming in now, Zeha.
Lilting Lullaby is going to land in onto Zeha. Zeha's going to be the target here. Explosive cast is going to be hit on to Bounty Hunter. 2 members of Akuma are now dead. Make it 3 as Capalot will be able to take out Fails. Now 3 members again dead for Akuma Distortion. But what do they get out of that in return? An inner tower in the top lane, Septi. All of the towers of Akuma Distortion are still up.
Yeah, that's what we call a worth play. You might lose your mid tower here, but Youngling has a lot of damage to do to that mid tier 1 in order to knock it down. And I think if you're Akuma, you're kind of like whatever about that play. They use a lot of resources to try and get on top of you. They use the Gragas DP, they use the Lilting Lullaby. They use so many flashes in that exchange, and I don't really know if you're too worried about it, as Slappy Joe does a lot of damage right now, and is, I think, going to be going for a crit build in this game. Has the Phantom Dancer. I feel like we've seen some pretty ridiculous things from Garen in the most recent days, as Smite used by Capalot to secure that blue. But with the towers down for Akuma on the red, or sorry, for Novasphere, it's going to be really hard to start controlling your own jungle, because the Corki and the Hui will be able to try and outpush you fairly easily with the wave that they have. 2 items completed on both of them respectively. No one besides the Gragas popping their full tier item, as Manamune is yet to be completed by both Mentos and Youngling. So it is going to be a little bit rough for the time being. Dragon spawning in a minute's time will be that mountain. So I believe that is a victory for you, if I'm not mistaken.
It sure is.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very, very useful soul for anyone who acquires it, with the amount of poke in this game, with the amount of raw burst it can come out from either side. As Slappy Joe and Cyan Kip seem to have a plan for the time being, and that does not seem to base and prep for this dragon.
And I mean, I'm very happy with Snorlax here on this Gragas R5 pick. I said in the draft I would have loved to have seen that Renekton, but they're playing very well on this Gragas, trying to be able to get their Rod of Ages completed, and most likely will have that available for this dragon fight. Baron is now up, but is a very powerful member of the Novasphere squad at this point. Unfortunately, they do not have teleport, and they have to make sure that Slappy Joe does not go for a push on to that inhibitor tower. It would be Mentos versus Slappy Joe, and I do not think that Mentos at this point of the contest beats out Slappy in a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and wow, that is a lot of damage coming out from the Garen without Conqueror, as Body Slam actually goes a little bit wide. Slappy Joe gonna try and look for a trade back, but on the other side of the map, it is a Dragon Star for the side of Akuma. No setup for Novasphere. Means that they are going to have to just sit and watch as fails faces in their face. That True Shot Barrage a little bit close to contesting the steal. Not close enough though. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Novasphere, you're still okay. You have, your mana immune stacking. You're going to be able to start poking like crazy as this game progresses. But I think you really need to start breaking open these towers. You need to start pushing the waves, and you need to start using the wave clear that you have as a nice stun lands onto Snorlax.
So going to be relatively fine. Oreo's going to go in. Magnus will be able to drop in. Autocapelot is going to have to go golden. Oreo's going to be able to take a lot of damage from the turrets, but not enough to be able to keep Capital alive. Oreo going to be able to avoid the damage coming in from Zeha. Snorlax is there, but like I talked about, Septi, you leave top lane alone, and now Slappy Joe is able to go in and get some damage onto that inhibitor tower. They might even be able to get it. And with Capilot now dead, Akuma should easily be able to take Baron. Look at the damage already at 22 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, Novasphere trying to go for a play on mid, but a nice flash from Zeha to disengage from the Alistar, who tried to, I believe it was W flash, as the ulti coming in, not going to do enough damage. Sidekick will be able to secure it with the smite. But, I mean, we've been seeing this all series long. Slappy Joe committing to playing the side lane. A strategy that I believe they were trying to at least mimic with Novasphere, or at least one that they are confident in themselves. And Hacksource, despite the champion pool, despite the fact that they play these annoying side laners, has been sort of dragged to their team a whole lot more than would be expected of someone playing into the likes of a Garen, of an Olaf. But now with Baron being warned by the side of Akuma, they're going to try and now push out, try and take control of this game. I think it first starts with this Garen trying to play for the top inhib. And with Hacksource here with the rest of their team, it is only a short time before this Gragas is either forced to base or TP early. But we might see a fight here on the side of Sidekick. Spots the Gragas.
A lot of damage in on to Mentos. Mentos is going to be now at half HP. Big one now available for them, but now the inhibitor is going to be available for Slappy Joe to pick up the Thorn in Novasphere's side.
It's Slappy Joe might try and
going to be able to get that inhibitor. Mentos going to be forced to slap away or flash away from Bounty Hunter. Capilot going to be dangerously low, and a teleport is going to have to come in from Snorlax to be able to avoid it. Bounty Hunter in the 3v1 going to be able to take out two. Disaster for Novasphere Gaming Alpha as two members
that might
go down to Bounty Hunter. This might, like you said, be the end here, Septi. Young kid gonna use that cleanse, gonna try to be able to avoid going down, as Snorlax gonna be able to take a little bit of damage from Slappy Joe before going down themselves. Sidekick gonna be at half HP. Fail's gonna be at half HP, but there is no explosive cask available. There is no displacement available for Novasphere Gaming Alpha to stop this inhibitor from going down, and it will now fall. Three members of Akuma Distortion still up in the mid lane, and now look at Slappy Joe on the top side pushing up with super minions to try to take out that last Nexus turret.
Yeah, Baron's still available for another minute's time. Only 2/3 of the way through this buff as TP now coming out from Corki. They are going to try and knock down all three of these inhibs. They're going to get the outer tier 2 of bot lane, but they might not be able to actually push any further. Fails as low. Zeha has no flash available to them. The flash economy is very scary. Flash from...
Now Snorlax gonna go in, gonna be dealing a little bit of damage on the Bounty Hunter, but the True Shot Barrage goes wide. Capilot and Snorlax gonna go golden, but they're gonna go down. Sneha going to be able to take out Snorlax, but two members of Novasphere are gonna be able to get kills. Slap Bounty Hunter gonna go in.
Oh my god, Bounty Hunter.
Huge damage from Bounty Hunter, who will inevitably die to Capalot, and it's only Oreo Murderer up, but look at the next hits. Slappy Joe is going to end the game for Akuma Distortion. What a crazy turn of events there. Akuma Distortion putting pedal to the metal, pressing forward and not holding back.
I feel like we were playing a 4v5 there with Slappy Joe. Just like there's a meme with NASA's players where, you know, everyone talks about playing the whole map, but then there's the NASA's player with, you know, a black post-it over everything but top lane. So the only thing you see is top lane, and then there's just a covering on the rest of the map. That's how I feel Slappy Joe is playing this game. Absolutely crushing the side. I don't think he actually went to the bot side at any point, maybe to catch a wave or two, but yeah, that gold graph shows it all. Had a couple dips because a couple bad fights. That Gragas got to shut down, and then the Lily got to shut down, and so that's where you see those little dips there. But yeah, I mean, a great way to end the game, and we saw it in game number 1, and it proceeded to game number 2. Once Akuma were able to grab a Baron buff, they were able to properly take the game for themselves. And I think, you know, it was very clean. Slappy Joe baited his entire team to take the inhibs and, you know, 1 tower, and it forced the Gragas to flash away from the rel and TP back to base. And, you know, that was that. From that point on, Slappy Joe had full control of the map, and everything else was just kismet. And honestly, Iris Bounty Hunter, you know, to give him some credit, you know, he kind of had some crazy outplays there as well. Maybe, you know, 1 or 2. I'm not really sure, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, 24,000 damage. The graph as well, you know, kind of speaks for itself there. Akuma Distortion, I mean, really putting in the work, and like you were alluding to, just the power of Akuma in those 2 games was their ability to be able to get so much turret plates before 14 minutes, to be able to get so many towers down before 20 minutes, and then execute on a plan by winning a team fight, going to Baron, and then using Baron to inevitably finish the job. There was just nothing that Novasphere was able to do. All of those deaths that they had, you know, did not matter because the gold was just so much in their favor. Zeha was the one getting gold. Bounty Hunter was the one getting gold. And I think that the utilization of the items that they had really gave them the edge throughout this game. I don't think that Novasphere played bad. I don't think that any one of their players just played incorrectly at all. But the execution of the strategy that Akuma had in those 2 games was just so superior.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. And honestly, I'm excited that we get a little bit of an insight, because stick around, we will be back very shortly with a quick interview with IRS Bounty Hunter. So hang in there. We'll be right back with that interview.
Awake to my voice.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Aegis Marauders League. 2 pretty solid games coming in from Akuma Distortion, and we've got the mid laner, the Corky star, capitalizing on those buffs in the recent patch. It's Ira's Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter, welcome. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think a pretty solid performance from you from both games. Most damage in game 1, eclipsing your opponent in the mid lane. And there was a point where you had 3 items and your opponent had 1 item and components. That was the that team fight that then resulted in you going into Baron. And so I want to talk about, just economy in general and being able to maybe capitalize on utilizing those items effectively, because I think you did a really good job at that.
Yeah, so I'm playing Quirky. I kind of just got to get my gold so I can carry pretty hard. And I knew I was going to win lane the second he queued in on me, level 2, because Quirky's W kind of just does like 3 abilities worth of damage
Oh
now.
yeah, we mentioned that. Yeah, insane.
So he queued in and he took like 200 damage from it level 2, and it was like, okay, I win the game.
Yeah, I miscalled it in game, calling it a Valkyrie the wrong way, but I was very quickly corrected by chat.
It's just a mini package.
With the reminder, exactly, that the W had been buffed to no end for freak reasons. Freak with the PH, not an F.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so I mean,
yeah.
With the sorry, you want to finish?
Go ahead. No, I didn't have anything to say.
all good. But yeah, no, congratulations on going undefeated in the group. And when I say undefeated, I don't just mean a match record. You guys won 8-0 in game record as well. You guys have your cross group next week. I'm not sure who it's against, but
it's actually against my old team.
It's against Dorado Gaming. I'm sure Coffee will be so excited to watch that one.
It'll be a fun one.
It is going to at least have some lore behind it. But anyway, as you guys have finished your group now undefeated, we're going to move into, or I guess you guys are going to move into the second half of the season, which is going to be playoffs. Do you guys think you can keep this undefeated streak going, or do you think you can keep this beaten streak game-wise going? And if so, who do you think might do it, and who are you looking out for?
We're not dropping a game all split.
Fair enough.
The only team I'm really think could even do anything would be Winnipeg Wombats. I know they played. I played against them last split over in Titan as well, and they were a good team over there. My old team beat them, but it was really close, and I thought they played really well. And it looks like I think they upgraded like one player on their team, and they're looking like another good team. But other than that, I'm kind of thinking run over everyone else.
All right. That sounds good to me. And then the second question I had is about sort of the patch change over the last week. I know Moose talked about it with the Corky, but can you take me through what you guys do as a team to prepare for a week like this after such a massive set of changes? I know you guys went with sort of a more vastly different style. We saw, obviously the Elise, the Corky, and the Hui picked up, but how do you guys feel you are going into the second half again of the season with your meta read, with sort of the picks you have prepared? How do you guys feel overall about that?
I think it's pretty good. We kind of just make Zeha do everything for draft. So I just he types a whole paragraph up, and I'm like, oh, that looks nice. I don't know why we're playing Elise. I don't think we've ever played that, and he was asking what abilities do before the game.
Oh.
So we had that going for us. And it's a good time.
Fair enough.
That's pretty funny. I mean, we were kind of like Elise was kind of like a fringe champion there, but I think overall your drafts were pretty solid. You maybe went for your front line at the end of the draft, and so I do have two more questions more about the game, because in both games, it definitely felt like Slappy Joe had the edge on their top lane opponent. But looking at the drafts, there was maybe that concern that you guys didn't have that front line. You guys pick up that Nautilus at the beginning or at the end of game one. You then have the Rel and the Garen. But Slappy Joe really popped off in the series. Was the game plan to try to let Sloppy Joe kind of try to do their thing topside, or did it just kind of work out that way as the game progressed?
I mean, we kind of went in assuming, looking at all their past games, they really just play really hard for bot side. So we were kind of surprised on that second game draft when they went so different to what they're used to, and I think it kind of showed that it was something different than what they normally play. The first game, we kind of just had such a huge gold lead that it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the 2 best champs on the mid lane patch, so it doesn't really matter.
Very good. Love to hear it. And then the last question I have for you is that I think all of the members of your squad are either AML alum or have been part of the Masters level leagues for a while. I think with the exception of Fails is maybe a player that I'm not super familiar with. But you guys have a lot of experience on that team. And what do you think that that provides in your games?
I think our comms are just pretty good overall compared to especially looking at some of the streams of other people after we beat them. Their comms are very subpar, and then ours are pretty good. We kind of know what we want to do and just use that to win every game, not drop a single one.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys have, I think, a good shot of doing well. You guys have a lot of players that either that really want to win this season. I think you guys have a really strong roster to do that, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are able to do for the remainder of this fall split. Do you guys have any shout outs or final words you want to part with before we let you go?
Really egoed me, GG.
Really ego?
Join the club.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. Well, hey, Bounty Hunter, thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Halloween, and we'll see you in qualifiers and playoffs.
Yep. Thanks for the time.
Alrighty, folks, that is going to do it today for the AML. As Septi talked about earlier, we not only do we have the AML each week, but we've got the AEL, the ADL, and the ACL, along with Teamfight Tactics, Valorant, and other content for you here at Aegis Esports. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Twitch channel and join the Discords to stay up to date on all of the content that is available. We've got week 5 of the regular season, the final week of regular season play coming up for you guys at 5 p.m. next week. Should be a fun stream to watch. Hope to see you guys all there. Have a great rest of your day. And like I said, have a great Halloween. Take care, guys.